This podcast is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Currently, you can get free delivery on all orders over £40 and 10% of all online orders by using our code of TakesThatChance10.
Jepson's there, Billy in, a goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life. Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Right then, I'm dreaming of some cream chinos, just like the ones Carlos likes to wear. Good tidings to all, and welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast, episode 88. Just the one game this week. Watford came to town offering season's greetings and gifts, and Town merrily took them. We'll discuss the Watford game a little bit on the January transfer window, and we'll take some tweets from you guys over the next hour or so. So hello to everybody watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining us for another live episode. Joining me in the little Zoom squares here is we've got the Bing to the podcast Crosby. It's Richard Christmahler. The Buble to the Michael. It's Dan Pozza Porritt. And the Carey to the Mariah in Simon Copeland. How are we doing?
Very good, thanks, Matt. Yourself?
Not bad, not bad. So Huddersfield Town 2, Watford 0. So that's 4 wins on the bounce at home, 4 clean sheets in the last 5, although we'll ignore the walloping at Bournemouth. And a bit of a fortress has been built there, Pozza.
Yeah, another good home victory. I think it were third game in a row, 2-0 up at half-time as well, which is nice because I do remember under Carlos we were sort of really slow to start, but under Carlos we seemed to come out with a bit more adventure. And 2-0 up half-time, and then it's just a case of seeing it out. I think Carlos's game management skills are improving as we go. He's learning to sort of relax the attacking style of play, shall we say, albeit not being ultra defensive. I think it's a case of he's now picking his moments to attack and moments to sort of relax a little bit. That 15-minute period just after half time always seems to be one where Town concede. Last few home games certainly, obviously that's not happened. So things are looking up. Yeah, I think it was a decent all round performance from everybody against Watford, to be fair.
2 lucky goals, Simon. Nice to score one, isn't it, that we've been conceding, but Ben Foster's not going to be too fond of looking back on this one.
Yeah, it's not one he'll want to see again, that's for sure. But as you say, kind of nice for those sorts of goals to be at that end rather than kind of in our own goal, which has not necessarily always been the case. I was surprised, Matt. I kind of maybe kind of naively or kind of regrettably didn't see us winning that game. I think we had kind of a bit of a WhatsApp chat beforehand, and I predicted a comfortable win for Watford. I'm pleased to say how wrong I was. I thought we played really well, actually. Watford probably were a little bit below my expectations, it's fair to say, particularly when you look at kind of the amount of talent and money that's on their team lineup. But nevertheless, another great win, and kind of Carlos and the team kind of never failed to disappoint, do they? But just to come back to your opening question, Matt, it certainly helps when we get kind of an early goal in the way we did, and then one of their defenders obviously shanks one into the net as well.
I was saying to a couple of others that was like one of the when you Kosi will remember these. He's a bit older than you two, and he's a bit more my age. But you'll remember those Nick Hancock and Danny Baker videos, won't you, from the 1990s, where he used to get some crap on goals, and it was one of those like lazy, tired swings from Etienne Capoue, and it just reminded me of sort of lazy, cloggy defenders from the 1990s who couldn't string a pass together.
I bought a few of them, mate. I'm a big Danny Baker fan. I've just actually bought his book, but that's another story. what a great surprise. I thought Santos would come in Friday, not last Saturday. Brilliant. The only kind of caveat I thought last week, people were saying Watford this and that. Watford's away form's crap. So they went to Barnsley and didn't turn up as well there. So part of me wondered if they could be as bad again, and they were. One thing I'll give you positive that, would Isaac Mbenza have chased that 2 seasons ago, 1 season ago? Would he chase down? Would he?
New man.
He's up for it, mate. Man. And yeah, Foster, who is a good guy actually, and he does a lot of stuff. Really good guy for Charlie, but obviously business is business. And even Fraser Campbell couldn't miss that. And then Kapua, who were touted to be off for 30 million in the summer. Good job he stayed, because beautiful finish, enjoyed that. But they were amazing, really. They just didn't turn up. And I think everyone will discuss it later on, but I was buzzing when I saw Troy Deeney's name under that 11 and further down that list. And obviously, as it's panned out, there must have been more to it than meets the eye. They didn't show anything. We had a bit of luck again at the other end. Andre Gray, who normally destroys us. How did he miss that? Incredible, really, wasn't it? Just couldn't sort his feet out, could he, at the end? To be honest, we saw the game out pretty well. And if anyone were going to get a third, it were going to be us. So, yeah, it's right up there, isn't it? Swansea, Watford, I think them will be in the top 6. We beat them. And again, after kind of the despair of the Bournemouth, I suppose as week sums up the season, really, don't we? Bournemouth lost, draw at Coventry, and a win against Watford. And again, you teased at you by the distance between us and the playoff spots, and what if we have a good Christmas, etc. But yeah, really, really pleasing on Saturday, and we bet a good side. All right, we've caught them on a good day, and we got a couple of gifts, but we saw it through. Still a long way to go. There's 78 minutes to see it through, and we did.
And that's what we bring back to game management, Poz, as well, because this is something that we've been mentioning the last few weeks, and it's an evolution as well, isn't it, of Carlos Corberan's style and Carlos Corberan's team. So what we saw probably initially it was very basketball-like, wasn't it? It was like you attack, we attack, you attack, we attack, and there was no sort of thought for killing a game off, which, we go back to our last successful championship team in 16-17, and game management was our MO, really. It was, we would take the game away from people if we got 1-0 up, and they would find it hard to get the ball off us. And we're now seeing bits of that. And I'd like your input as well as an ex-centre-back, an ex-strapping centre-back on the performances of Romani Edmonds-Green and Naby Sarr. Because, when Naby Sarr plays well, I've started to label him Naby more, because, he does look excellent. And then a bit of a disaster, and Brady's not having that one when he's not so good. But we saw a good performance again from Naby, and him and Romani Edmonds-Green really, for me, build that platform. And you have to give a special mention as well to Ryan Schofield, Simon, afterwards as well, because 5 saves, 2 of them outstanding, a really great performance. Tell us then, Poz, about the 2 defenders and why they were so good on Saturday, if they were, in your opinion, of course.
Yeah, I thought they both played really well. Naby Sarr's an interesting character, isn't he? We've discussed him, on various occasions on this podcast, and I must admit, I like him too. He's one of those that'll give you an heart attack, and then 10 minutes later, he'll, as he said, turn into a Beckenbauer or a Bobby Moore type player. You never really know what Naby Sarr's going to turn up. Luckily for us on Saturday, the better of the 2 Naby Sarrs did turn up, and he had a really good game. And like you say, he seems to be forming a partnership with Romani Edmonds-Green, which is nice to see, because he came in early doors, did Edmonds-Green, and we've sort of sung his praises on here, and Stearman came back in and sort of took his place. And for me, we're no better than Edmonds-Green, and you could say that the injury to Stearman is slightly a blessing in disguise, maybe, because it's kind of forced Carlos's hand to play Edmonds-Green and actually have a run of games rather than coming in for a game here and there. And I think that's really important. As a centre half, you need to know how the person next to you is going to play. And obviously, you've touched on Ryan Schofield there as well. It's almost like that triangle can be sort of one of the most important places on the pitch. If your keeper and your 2 centre halves are in sync, your whole team just looks more defensively solid. You can get away with your full-backs going a bit crazy and being out of position because it's obviously on the wide areas, but certainly straight down the centre of the pitch. And Johnny Ogg just in front as well. That sort of 4 there, it does look like a really solid diamond. And hats off to Schofield, he's come in. there were rumours at the start of the season that he were going to be the number one. Obviously, got the injury, which is why we got the Poppadom hands in from wherever he came from, Hearts, I think it was.
Not a fan then.
I'm not a fan of him. No, I'd rather see Schofield. I think it's always a tricky one with a young keeper because historically, I don't know, keepers seem to be, your experience. You need a lot of experience. But, Schofield's, he'll have played games and games and games, youth team and stuff like that. And albeit, it's a bit of a lower level, but, he's still standing between white sticks, and keeping ball out. So he's probably played, enough games to be able to do it. And he's proved that he's been able to, as you say, a couple of really good saves. Seems to, command his area pretty well and stuff like that. So long may it continue.
Tell you what, Matt, what about Johnny Hogg? Absolute sensational performance Saturday. He was up there probably with Campbell for that man of the match. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He's still, I think we discussed him last week, didn't we? And he's still so key for us. I mean, Tom Cleverley didn't get a sniff, man. He was absolutely smashing guys left, right and centre and bossing the game. He was class, I know, obviously, against his old team, probably maybe a bit more fired up than normal. Not that he needs to be in that as well. So impressed with his performance. And Jonathan not playing like that, just kind of rolling back the years, really, as well. I mean, Watford had like 68% of the boss. See, I've done my homework for this pod. But we did. I don't know about you, but I know I felt threatened, really. I just thought it was so comfortable. And it would have, like you said, Matt, it's a sign of a maybe maturing team that we game management. We've seen the game out as well. It was really good, but I thought Jonathan was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, at first half, I think the possession-wise it was like 51-49. It was at the end of the first half. It was very tight, and we were saying in the preview show that probably the best way to get at Watford and beat them is to take the ball away from them because they're quite slow in possession and they just quite like to recycle and keep the ball. And Jonathan Hogg was outstanding in midfield, in terms of breaking up play and then giving it simple, and then Huddersfield would take the ball and attack down one of the flanks. It was a really great performance from Jonathan Hogg, and he was definitely in the top three performers there with Fraser Campbell and Ryan Schofield for sure. What was really good as well, I thought, in midfield was Bacuna and Lewis O'Brien started off by having a bit poor games, really. So the first 20 minutes, they weren't quite in it. Carlos then swapped the two. He put Lewis O'Brien onto the left and Bacuna in the middle, and it seemed to transform both of them, which was fantastic. And they both, after this 20 minutes, both had great games. And I think in the second half, the possessions and the shots have skewed slightly because we've kind of sat off and managed the game better than we have been doing. And I think we've got a lot of debt to pay, Simon, really, to that save, especially in the second half from Ryan Schofield. How good was that reaction save?
Yeah, kind of really, really good. We've kind of seen, I think it was Middlesbrough last season where he came in for one game, and I vaguely remember him making a very, very good kind of reaction save then as well. And that clearly seems to be one of his strengths as a goalkeeper. I think there's been a few question marks around his distribution. But for me, that looks to have certainly kind of stepped up this season and improved. And all eyes really on the Barnsley game, assuming Haber's fit, to see who kind of Correa goes between the sticks. I would be very much in favour of Schofield kind of retaining the shirt. I think, look, if you roll the clock back 3 months, kind of question whether or not you'd see him in the town shirt all this season. I kind of thought he would be found out on loan again, perhaps to Scotland like he was last year. But right now, I think if he does miss out on that number one shirt, he's very, very lucky. And I think with an eye to the future, he's the one we should back. There'll be a few mistakes in there. I think that's inevitable as a goalkeeper, but Hamer would make mistakes as well. And I think for the long term of the club, if we want to keep Schofield and kind of manage his or meet his expectations around game time, then I think we kind of need to give him the jersey now and trust him and see what he can do.
It's good in that side because I mean, I was different before because he had COVID-19 today, and I just felt that he deserved to kind of come back in, and I thought it would have better keeper in that. So I did again kind of hold my breath a little bit because he went down again, didn't he? 88, 89 minutes, and I'm thinking, oh no, not another kind of injury or cramp. I don't know what it was, to be honest with you, but I agree. I would stick faith. I think his confidence will come on leaps and bounds against not on the day they weren't, but a strong Watford side. And yeah, he should be the man for me that leads us into the game at Oakwell on Boxing Day.
That's harsh on. Sorry, Matt. I'm just going to say that's harsh on Hamer in the sense that he's done nothing wrong. And I think I, for one, kind of didn't want to see him in a Huddersfield Town goal at the start of this season. I was surprised when he was given the number 1 shirt. But he has, again, similar to Schofield's, kind of surpassed my expectations, kind of done really well, not let anyone down, being a kind of a credit really to himself and to the club. But football's about making some tough decisions. This is kind of a nice decision, if you like, to have to make. You've got 2 kind of arguably similar goalkeepers of a similar ability competing for that number 1 shirt. But I just think with an eye on the future, Schofield has got far much more potential, and he's going to be itching to play games. And if we can't deliver that for him, then I'm getting nervous. He'll start to look elsewhere and kind of force a move, perhaps.
Yeah, so one tweet that came in, so we've asked for some people's questions from Twitter just to fatten out the agenda a little bit, if you like. It's Christmas, we're all getting fat. So, Poz, you okay there? You having a few problems with the screen? You're knocking it over
and
ransacking the place there.
His iPad's on a little case and it just slips off.
So Kosi and Simon have both said that Schofield from now on. I agree with Kosi fully. Ben Hamer, I thought, had been great, and I think he deserved everything coming his way. But when you look at it in a harsher light, you know, Ben Hamer's out of contract at the end of the season. Are we going to keep him? Yes, no, who knows? Ryan Schofield, the future of the goalkeeping position potentially, and when you're in the position that we are, you know, sort of mid-table, now seems to be a good time to throw the kids in, you know, especially when you're so many away from the top and so many away from the bottom. It's probably a good time for Romani, Edmonds, Green and Schofield to play. But, you know, later on in the season, there may be a call for Ben Hamer, and there may be situations which benefit, you know, bringing Ben Hamer back in. So it's a really interesting one. So we've got 3 for Schofield at the minute, including me. Poz, are you clean sweep, or do you think Hamer needs to come back in?
No, I think you bang on. I think the situation that we're currently finding ourselves in, from what I've seen so far, I don't think it's easy to say. I don't think there's any danger of us going down, because it's one of those really funny seasons. But I think we've got enough to stay up. And, you know, as we've mentioned previously, if it is going to be one of those transitional seasons, and we do look like we are going to finish up in mid-table, then, you know, why not? Let's use it as a pre-season for next season, if you will, although, you know, really extended. Because if we are going to be relying on youth team players to come through and, you know, build into this philosophy that they wanted to set up when they appointed Carlos, then there's probably no better time to get them in than now, because it's such a crazy league at the moment. You know, there's no one running away with it, and it doesn't look like we're too excited about investing in January to really push for that playoff place, which I do think we're capable of. But there'll also be another 10 teams out there saying exactly the same thing. So it's just if one of those teams decides to, or 2, or, you know, maybe 3 of them decide to throw a little bit of money at it at January, you know, they're the ones that will probably sort of lead the pack on that chase. But as far as Town are concerned, if we are happy to just sort of tread water in mid-table, then yeah, use this as a pre-season for next season and get some of these kids first team football experience, and you know, see what they can do, you know, in time for next season. And I don't see a point in playing Hamer if he's out of contracts and we're not going to give him another one. It's just counterproductive.
Yeah, we don't know either way, do we, what's going on there?
You know, if you're asking me today, would I keep Hamer? I probably would. What is there anyone out there that will get better for free? And, you know, if not, then yeah, keep him as a backup. He's done all right. Historically, he's been terrible, but, you know, like a few players this season, he's pulled his socks up and started doing all right. So
it's exciting times for me, though. Let's get this glass half full. You know, we're edging towards the playoff. O'Brien not played anywhere near his potential this season. Bakuna can give a lot more. Ward, who he hasn't even played. 3 new signings in inverted commas come in. Grant will come on to later. Who knows? He could be thrown in February, March. You know what? You look at Watford there. I mean, yeah, we caught them on a bad day, but, and I'm not saying we're going to crash the top 6, but we can have some fun. We can have some big fun. Christmas is coming up. 3 games. Things could look a lot different. I think that's the trouble when you're mid-table, isn't it? You win 1 and...
Hang on, Kosi. Hang on. You've put on this agenda, playoff push, ? So, you know, I think you were getting carried away maybe when you brought this down. Do you reckon we can push for it?
If I'm being brutally honest, I don't think we will get in the playoffs, but I like to dream. I like to have ambition. And the best thing is now, similar to having a discussion with a kind of Leeds friend the other day, he loves the fact in the Premier League that they're going up and he thinks they can win every game, which everyone will be laughing because that's what happened Sunday. He goes into every game, thinks they can win. I think we can win every game now. Well, I never felt that certainly under Wagner after that Tottenham first home game. Anything since then, I've always felt, oh, you're not going to do it here, we're not going to do that. For the first time in a long time, I'm going into games thinking we can win these games. Says this is a man who predicted us to lose to Watford, but we can. And I know you can say, well, it's the division, but no, as team is good, and we can. Yeah, it really could go any way, but there's a lot of ifs and buts, and people needs to come into form. But I still don't think we've seen the best of Huddersfield Town this season, and teams won't want to play us in, that are going for like honours and stuff. And Watford,
it's quite incredible that, like you said, the job that Carlos is doing with the squad that he's got, because I remember pre-season pretty much every single one of us was tipping relegation, and to have us even up in mid-table, let alone looking up, not so many points off at top six at Christmas is an absolutely phenomenal achievement with with the players that he's got. And as you say, because there's players there as well that are playing that are still not playing to their full potential.
I think the trouble
it's an interesting one.
I think the hardest thing is just that barometer I wanted to see against Bournemouth. Obviously, that was skewed with the 6 changes. That's the thing. I think when I look at everything else, we went to Swansea and, again, we got, maybe a bit of luck on the day as well. But if you look at who we played, like kind of high up.
Millwall as well. Millwall was good.
When you think of the Norwich game now, they're absolutely flying. Even with the injuries, they look like they're going to be winning by 15 points to me. But we were, if it weren't for Stearman, we'd have got some out of that. So we've been competing pretty much all the games with a threadbare squad, with guys who can give us a bit more. We hopefully a kind of recruitment to come in. Let's flirt, man. Let's get on that nightclub dance floor. Let's have a little dance with these glamours. Let's flirt. Who knows? We might get lucky. But yeah, I'm very optimistic because Saturday were a real watershed to me. Because like you guys, I didn't expect anything, and we beat a good side pretty comfortably there. So why not? Should give us loads of confidence. Schofield as well, another guy who's brilliant shot stopping. He'll be buzzing for Saturday. I'm thinking Barnsley. That'd be a cracking game, mate, because Barnsley are flying as well. They're optimistic. I've been texting my Barnsley mate today. Says who'd have thought that would be a mid-table battle in September? We didn't. Those guys
did you often get lucky on the dance floor, Kosi, by going like this?
I forgot what one is, Matt. Not because of my age, because it's bloody minus.
So I know it's every week, but how good would it have been to have been at Barnsley on Boxing Day, on the beers, behind that goal, kind of had some good days.
We'd have had 5,000 there, wouldn't we?
Exactly. Playing the football we're playing. I mean, kind of the last trip to Barnsley wasn't great. I remember it was kind of Grant got hooked at half time. Jaden Brown had a stinker that day, but had some great days out at Barnsley. And I think Boxing Day, to your point, because it was playing well, then playing well would have been a great day out. It's just a shame it's not going to be. Sorry, I brought things right back down there, and I really didn't mean to. But yeah, Kosi, we're going up.
Well, we're going up the league, mate. That's for sure. But you wouldn't want to play us, would you? You wouldn't at the moment.
The danger side. Danger side. Not the bad danger that we often do on this podcast, but a good danger. A couple of things that I think to wrap up Watford as well. I think there's a couple of players that probably just need a good wrap from us as well. I thought Carroll Lighting in midfield maybe wasn't noticeable a lot of the time, but he was carrying an injury from early on, and he soldiered through towards the end as well. I thought Carroll Lighting did a really solid job, and I think physically he's coming up to the demands of the Championship now and really sort of stepping into that midfield role. I think Carroll Lighting's a player that I keep saying that we really should move on as soon as possible if we can, because I think there'll be a lot more interested parties in him before the end of the season if he keeps going at this rate. And Fraser Campbell as well. Fraser Campbell, I think it hurt his knee shin in around the ankle knee shin area, and he was limping through a good 80 minutes of that game. And I thought the amount of work he got through, considering his injury, okay, Kosi would have probably scored the goal, but you've got to be there to put it in the net. And I thought he was outstanding on the day. And I don't always give Fraser Campbell all the credit in the world, but I will do on this occasion, because I thought he really stepped up to it. And on the preview show, one of the things we said was without Danny Ward, without Kieran Phillips' injured Ward, and we had sort of 1.5 strikers, and Kean Harrett was playing for the youth side as well. So it was all on Fraser Campbell, and we needed him to step up, and I thought he did. And fair play to Fraser, and hopefully we'll see more of that going forward. Right, so I think that's Watford, isn't it, guys? So just glancing over to YouTube, I threw it out there, Schofield or Hamer, and Pete Collins says Schofield. Pete Swallow also says keep faith with Schofield. And Pete also says, Kosi, what game are you watching on TV? Because everyone can see you glancing off to the side. I reckon it's Bradford City.
Atletico Madrid are playing at Real Sociedad, and it's going to be their year, mate. Luis Suarez, 35 going on 25, mate. What a player.
Are you sure it's not Grimsby and Bradford?
I've turned that off, mate, because Bradford were winning. They were winning, mate. No, I don't like it when they win.
Not often you can say that, is it?
No. Pete Collins says, we've got Watford away soon. Can we go there and try and win? Well, I think the good thing, Kosi, with this side is we'll go there and we'll try and win. I think that's one of the great things about a Carlos Carlbrand side.
Do you think Dworski says, smile or celebrate if we score or win and stuff? He's unbelievable, isn't he?
He's demanding, isn't he?
Like a school teacher where nothing's ever good enough. He never smiles.
I like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Never see him on the dance floor giving it this. Is that what?
I know. I just can't believe it. Even after the game, he just storms down tunnel. He's like, he's nothing like. There's not even an elbow bump or nothing. It's like, what is going on, man?
There's Rotherham in the Rotherham away. He went a bit crazy, didn't he?
Oh, did he? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
It'd be quite interesting to see how he interacts with the fans once people are back in the stadium, because Wagner obviously loved it, kind of geeing up the fans kind of towards the end of close games. He came over to the South Stand and celebrated. Cowley, in fairness, did similar, kind of that over-exaggerated clap that he did kind of above his head when he walked out. To see to what extent kind of Correa interacts with the fans. I'm not sure if he will.
What chance have you got lined up? Have there been any, for his Premier League return next year? What have you been discussing with Cowshed boys?
Trying to get some Chino related.
You've seen my chant, Poz. You've seen my chant, mate.
If anybody wants to submit any, apart from Matt, because his efforts have been terrible so far, then feel free. But I think he's new to first team football, isn't he? So he's probably not used to being, in the spotlight as such. A B team game, you probably just do sort of walk down to the left at match and stuff like that. And we know fans there. He's probably not very dissimilar to how he's used to acting there. So I think you're right. So I think it will be interesting to see how he is. Once fans, if we ever bloody get back in there.
Yeah.
I
so
like
just
him, he's a good guy.
Just to finish the YouTube comments, Andy Dworski says big danger of not trying to go for it is losing Toff, Pippa, O'Brien, as they can without doubt apply their trades for top championship teams. And I think that's a fair point. We've got to balance that and balance the ambitions of the players that we've got in the squad as well, and aim higher. So Kosi's onto something surely for those guys. And Pete Swallow says this season each game is expect the unexpected. We never know which players are going to turn up. And yes, it's a bit of a Naby Sarr season, isn't it? So it's quite enjoyable, isn't it? So let's move on to the transfer window. So January is looming.
No, just stop, Matt. Just roll it back. I want to talk about.
Oh yeah, sorry. You want to talk about Troy Deeney, didn't you? Yeah, go on.
I do. I don't. Most people have probably seen what I'm talking about, but Troy Deeney, I'm amazed that TalkSport Breakfast is on the show. It's really weird, isn't it? Because he's still playing, and I suppose he's got to go to training. So part of me thinks, I suppose there's no point in it, but 5 a.m. Why is he doing that? But I just found it really uncomfortable. His interview and explanation. To be fair to TalkSport, he's on there as a co-presenter, so he's going to get asked. But there's obviously something proper went on behind the scenes. For Troy Deeney not to come on, and on, Matt, you kind of said, you WhatsApp group, I think he carried an injury, but no way. They were losing for a long time. If there's anything about it, he's on, but I just didn't like, he's an employee of Watford. He's their club captain. I didn't like how he just he is an honest guy, and I do like him, but I just didn't, he just want for public consumption, I didn't think, and that as well. And the fact that obviously the manager went, and I don't know, I just thought Deeney come across really poor and that as well. But he would say, well, I'm just being honest. And does he really know why he didn't play on Saturday and stuff? Because what he scored, 4 goals in the last 5 games. It was such a bizarre incident, but just
Grimsby have scored Grimsby have scored Kosi, so you might want to put that back on soon.
Get it back on. Up the marinade. But yeah, I think they had 5 different managers in the last year or something like that. Yeah,
it's a crazy amount, yeah.
Yeah, it's just really weird, but I just didn't like that. And I thought that showed a few little issues to me. They've just got a Spaniard straight in. They ran them out there with their managers, Watford, but I don't know, I just didn't like the fact that he's coming on. He's an employee of the club and he's basically kind of giving his manager some jip. I just thought it was just such a bizarre.
He tried to say as much as he could without going over, but he said something like it seemed a communication-based issue with me where he was having a massage or something and the manager wanted to see him. So he turned up 10 minutes late and then the manager obviously spat his dummy out about it and wouldn't speak to him, and he found himself on the bench from it. And then he did say after the game actually that he'd played a lot of games recently, so he didn't pick him or didn't start him because he'd just come back from injury and done it. But obviously there seems to be a bit more to it, now he's been on TalkSport, and it seems the manager's communication skills might have gone against him a bit. So maybe that's why he's now on the dole, if you like. Although none of them are ever on the dole, are they? But that's why he's unemployed and there's a new man in. But that was quick, wasn't it? As well, the change. It was pretty much revolving door, wasn't it?
We've said, haven't we, like earlier in a few pods, that Watford squad demands coming straight back. It's as simple as that. That's their objective. And the fact that he didn't even come on for 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. And yeah, there's, that Kapui, man, he was obviously good for us with his goal, but they were poor, weren't they? I just thought Cleverly lost his shit, to be honest with you. He was so frustrated because Hogg did a job on him. And yeah, I suppose we can close the Watford game now. I just thought it was I just didn't like, I never liked people washing the dirty linen in public, to be honest, and thought Dina, the trouble is he's on the show, they're going to ask him, and he answered, but it would have put unsavoury situation. I just think it makes Watford look a bit amateur, and there's a lot of pressure on them. Let's see how they respond with this new guy, but I'm not so sure they'll make it now,
Depends on the new boss, doesn't it? So I'm aware that my version of Zoom is going a bit loco at the minute, so I may dip in and out from time to time here. So moving on then to the January transfer window, Town announced a new signing after the game, so beating a top side in the league and then announcing a new signing. Good Saturdays. Brady, who shit out of doing the podcast tonight, has let's be honest, he didn't really. He's too busy with work, but he's done an article, so make sure you check that out online. He's done a little bit on Danny Grant. So Danny Grant, to me, I quite like these signings. So I'm going to go to you, Si, because you look rather interested in this. So Danny Grant, young player, Irish under 21, lots of pace, playing at a standard which is League Two-ish. I don't know. It's difficult to gauge, isn't it? I quite like these types of signings because there's a lot of upside to it and not a massive amount of downside. He's come in and if it fails, it fails. But if it hits off, then you've found a gem from nowhere. And maybe it's the romantic side of me looking back at Josh Koroma, and all this, but he seems to be a very similar sort of player in terms of a right footer that likes to play on the left, a lot of speed, a couple of tricks here and there, but he's obviously coming from a level which is below the Championship, so it might take him a little while to get up to speed. But what do you think, Simon, of this signing? Are you excited, or do you just think it's a wait and see job?
Somewhere in the middle, I think, in honest, Matt. Forgive me for shaking the question. I think you're right to say there's no risk associated with bringing him in. If it doesn't work, presumably we don't lose particularly much from it. I think I'm right in saying he was quite well coveted. There were a few clubs interested in his signature. So the fact that we've won out there and potentially beat some other kind of Championship or League Club ones is pleasing and kind of.
Millwall were one of them, and Barnsley.
Hull, yeah, I had Hull were interested. Obviously, they're league below as well.
Millwall and I think sure Barnsley.
But yeah, it kind of, I guess, wait to see. I think for me, try not to look at this window in kind of one transfer in isolation, really. I think if Danny Grant is the only one that comes in this window, then for me, it makes it slightly more of an anticlimax. And I think then there'll be kind of greater expectations of him in the short term. On the flip side of that, if Danny Grant is one of 3 or 4 incomings this window and quite a bit of activity, then that makes me more excited and arguably kind of takes the pressure off him a little bit. He can go play in the B team, maybe a couple of substitute appearances, FA Cup, etc. this season, and then next season kind of be when he comes to the fore, really. So for me, don't want to look at it too much in kind of isolation. It's about the January window as a bigger picture, but definitely feels like a good bit of business with no risk associated with it, and as I say, kind of good to win out against some other clubs as well.
What do you reckon, guys? Pause, Kos, the rhyming duo there.
I think he's probably one of those that's come in and on paper potentially being a B team sort of player. One of those that we might look at to bed in over of course, the season, as we've said about youth team players, 10, 15 games to go. If we're looking comfortably safe, then he might get a run. We had the old 5 strikers jibe. We've now got 6. So competition for place is hotting up. Although, 5
winger-ish,
4 of the 5 don't really feature at all, apart from Campbell these days. So, he might get his chance. All it takes is a knock for Fraser Campbell now, and suddenly he might be knocking on the door.
There's Keane Harrett, isn't there? So I think he's a left-sided that likes to cut in, but there's like Koroma. They reckon Koroma can play up front as well. So maybe Danny Grant can do it, but. It's an interesting.
If he's half as good as the other Grant who we had, who played that similar position, then brilliant. And I think it's nice that we've looked somewhere else, because I can't remember many signings coming from that sort of region. We seem to have moved away from where we were looking in that disastrous summer. The sort of French area. So it's nice to know. Si says that we've beat off other clubs. It shows that we must be doing something right behind the scenes. And but good luck to him. We don't know much about him, obviously, playing, where he's played. It's not the most publicised league in the world, but his brother certainly seemed pretty buzzing by it, judging by his tweets and stuff like that. I think we've got a fan out of it, at least, going on what his brother was saying on Twitter.
His brother was well up for it, wasn't he? And his mum.
If he's out there, get in touch, mate. We'll get you in cowshed rocking it. But yeah, he's one of those. I think you don't know, do you? Because you can look at these YouTube highlights and highlight videos all you want, but until you actually see him for 90 minutes, on a regular basis, you're not going to know.
The reputation from Ireland seems quite good from the journos over there as well, which is always warming. But Kosi, the question I think everybody will want to know is, does he fill that Grant-shaped hole in your heart?
Interesting, mate. I think because there's no pressure on the guy now. With God, I don't want to sell us demise down the table, but we're comfy, aren't we? We're well above the dotted line now. No pressure. Yeah, you'd think maybe like a Koroma, big reputation, kind of at the level that he played. Can he come in and make an instant impact? Obviously, Koroma took a while and a few loans and that to do it, but why not? I mean, there's no pressure on him to come on now and, he has to score the goals to keep us up or to get the top 6. It'll be interesting to see. It's a shame we're not in the ground, because I can probably see some fans thinking, typical kind of town signing, a cheap project player and what have you, and we're not really going for. There's no ambition. We're not pushing for that top 6. But it's a signing, like you said, Matt. I mean, I don't know that much about him, but reading what people are saying, he seems to be a bit better than your normal kind of obscure player that you pluck out of that as well. Just listen to people.
In hand.
Yeah, it sounds like as well a guy who can play all over the shop as well in different positions, which. When you think a lot of our players now, we don't really have many in set positions, do we? Everyone just seems to move all over the place. So he does fit the bill there. And like you said, Pozza, his brother and his family seem to be really up for it. So there can't be any expectations for him to come in. But I'm really hopeful that he'll be, back end of the season getting games, because when you're scoring goals, I know it's, Irish level, and I don't know anything about Irish football, to be honest with you, but the people that do really speak really highly of him. So you do hope this season he could maybe make a bit of an impact, but if he does, it will be a bonus for sure.
That's right. So just on the Grant thing, Danny Grant, I think we're all looking forward. So we'll all wish Danny Grant the very best of luck coming over here, settling over here. And if his mum ever wants to send any of those cakes across to us, we'll be more than happy to receive some of those as well. And if his brother fancies a good sing-song and a pint and what have you, when we're allowed back in the stadium, Pozza and Kosi are your man, and or men, if you like, and they'll show you the good signs of the good sights of Huddersfield. And
we can't take him to a gas club, innit? But
gas club, Magic Rock.
And unlock the borders and that. They can't even get over. Is he
well, we're talking when everything goes back to normal. Hopefully.
We want him to play, don't we? We need to get him over here. How we get him?
He's over. He's over. Yeah, he's over. He's over already, and he's training. Yeah, don't worry.
Yes, I'm going to write to Boris and demand
special dispensation. Yeah.
I think the B team play tomorrow, don't they? I think we're recording this on Tuesday night, and
22nd. Yeah,
we've got a game tomorrow, so interesting to see if he plays then. Might be a few clips.
I don't think he can. I think you still need international clearance to play in those games. I think the clearance still needs to come through before you're allowed to play them. But I don't know. You might be able to play him as a trialist, actually. So potentially he could play as a trialist, but not as a registered player. So if it says trialist on there, it may be that he plays. But we'll see. It'll be interesting. Good point, Si. That we'll we'll keep an eye peeled for that one. So it seems whether it's 2019 or 2020, we can't keep Lincoln out of the news. We've been linked with a Brazilian striker, Lincoln Correa de Santos. A little bit about him. 3 goals in 7 games for the Brazil under-17s, 3 goals in 9 for Brazil under-20s. 49 appearances across multiple competitions for Flamengo. One of the biggest clubs in Brazil, a huge club with huge pressure. It seems to have been hung out a little bit lately, and it looks like he's maybe looking to kickstart a promising career that had Barcelona, Real Madrid, and a few others, Man United, sniffing at the age of 16. But a lot of players get looked at that age. Firstly, I thought what's worthwhile doing is visiting the rules, because as of January 1st, Brexit has brought in some new rules, which some people may or may not be aware of. I had a look at them, and they are quite complicated. So I will just highlight a couple of little bits and bats here.
That's good for me, Matt. Well done.
Yeah, so there is. It's good for me as well. I couldn't do any more. So there's a new points-based system that's going to be in from January 1st. So from now on, you'll need to hit a threshold of 15 points if you are going to sign a player. So Eiting, we'll take Carol Eiting as an example because he's playing for Huddersfield Town at the moment. So Carol Eiting would get 10 points for playing in the Eredivisie last year for Ajax. So because that's a top league, a top team, he will gain 10 points. He'll gain a further 5 points because Ajax won the league in that division, whilst also additional points for minutes he played. If he's played in the Champions League, that gets classed as a Band 1 competition. So your competitions are now split into Band 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going down. You know how good the league is. So the Premier League is Band 1, the Champions League Band 1, etc., and Championship is sort of Band 3 or 4 somewhere down there. So Carol Eiting would qualify under the new rules. He would get the 15 points that you need. But you know who wouldn't qualify? You all look at me blank. Pippa would not qualify, despite being a Spanish under-21. Under the new rules, we would not be able to sign him because he wouldn't meet the 15-point threshold. According to Yorkshire Live, this is. So if anyone wants to correct me, that's you're more than welcome to do so. Like I say, the criteria is based on the competition standard, the play and how many appearances, etc. International, intercontinental comps, like the Copa Libertadores also counts. So if we look at Lincoln, the Brazilian striker, he is playing in Serie A of Brazil. So it's very similar to Italy, but it's called Serie A. And he's played a number of games. Serie A is in qualifying Band 3. So what you get, but he's also playing in the Copa Libertadores, which is Band 1. So this is where you kind of start accumulating and adding points together. He's played in the Copa Libertadores, which is 10 points because it's in Band 1. And then you get, I think it's 8 points for Band 3. So that's 18 points already. So he's gone over the 15-point threshold. That's if you go by last season. If it's this season, I think it's 7 points. And it also depends how far Flamengo went in the competition. So because they won it last year, it would be 10 points. Because they got to the last 16 this year, it's around 7 points. So either way, Lincoln can get a work permit. He can play for Huddersfield Town. So that's not a worry. So that won't get scuppered at that end. It's really interesting. You look through this and you can now see that potentially because of the competitions over in South America, it was mentioned by the head of Huddersfield Town's recruitment for the academy, whose name escapes me. I think it's Lee Meller. Mentioned South America would be a route that Huddersfield Town may start to look at as well. And it seems, Kosi, that your style of Brazilian dancing may be seen more on the pitch at Huddersfield rather than just confined into your flat over there. So what we may see now is a complete shift from all clubs because Bundesliga 2, La Liga 2, which were areas of interest for not only Huddersfield Town, but many championship sides, it's now almost impossible to now bring players in from that level because the point system's too low. So there would need to be internationals if they were, and they would need to play for international teams that are quite ranked highly, because the lower the rank is, the less points you'll get. So it's quite a convoluted and long approach. It's been done and put together by the top 6, as you would imagine. So it mostly benefits people with money. And who knows? It looks like a lot of English clubs could be like Shakhtar Donetsk in future, with 7 or 8 Brazilians, in their side. So, I
tell you what, Matt, we struggle to send a bloody fax to buy Aaron's. How the hell the recruitment team are going to work through all that on a regular basis is beyond me.
Yeah, so Ireland has a special status with the UK anyway. So bringing players in from Ireland's unaffected, even though Ireland's in the EU and we won't be. There's still that special agreement, so that's fine. So there you go, guys. I'm going to stop talking about that. What do you guys think of that? And you can see there's a lot of questions that'll come out of that, how teams will look to recruit from now on, the transfers, and it's going to send things a little bit crazy, don't you think? Si, you've got a really bemused face on, so I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Matt, you just took all the words right out of my mouth. I had all that prepared beforehand, so really gutted, Matt, that you've stolen my thunder there.
Sorry,
I mean, where to start? Is it the point you make about kind of La Liga 2 and kind of second division, the kind of German football as well? I think that's a really interesting point, and presumably someone at some time is going to have to intervene there and change that, because that doesn't feel a fair and logical approach. But whether or not they do so and how long that takes, I guess, remains to be seen. But we and a lot of clubs have had a lot of success kind of from both those leagues, and players as well. So it feels unfair to disadvantage them in that regard. I guess to come on to the South America route and kind of Lincoln in particular, I've never heard of the guy. I'm not going to lie.
He's a football manager wonder kid, Simon. How have you not heard of him?
Is he really?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, why not? Why not? We need a striker. Let's take a punt. Be interested to see how we go. Could be as good or as bad as anyone we've had previously. But it sounds like there's kind of lots of rules there and kind of, I think, yeah, a lot that I wasn't aware of anyway. So probably need a bit more time to digest it all.
Kosi, you are old enough to remember a certain Malcolm McDonald, are you not? That managed Huddersfield Town.
Remember him? Zico.
I do, but he was tied, though, mate. Can you remember? What I was going to ask you, though, mate, can you remember a famous quote from Malcolm McDonald when he first joined Huddersfield Town? Do you remember what he said in one of his first press conferences? No. And it's used as a bit of a stick to beat him with ever since, because he came in under he swept in, didn't he? This is a little bit before my time, but I've had to do some reading. He swept in, and one of the first quotes that Malcolm McDonald said was, "I will have Brazilians playing for Huddersfield Town Football Club," and it got everybody excited, everybody going crazy. And do you know how many Brazilians we've had play for Huddersfield Town since Malcolm McDonald said that back in, 1987?
89, 87 or something, 30 odd years ago, isn't it? Plus.
Yeah, how many Brazilians have we had since?
One.
None. I don't think we've had one, unless you can name him.
Well, that Zico guy, wasn't he?
He was Thai.
Well, they're Thai and that. You know what's Thailand, interesting for me, though? It's, striker. Well, it's only rumours, isn't it? Lincoln, but striker. Grant, striker. Well, we have 5 strikers. I just think it's really odd. That's just nonsense, really. I think with what's happening since, it's proven that we're after these kind of guys. But yeah, it's similar to Grant, probably less so, to be honest with you. If it comes off, then it's a bonus, and let's see where it goes. But it's just good to see us at last. A couple of names, obviously one signed, one rumoured. We kind of seem to be a bit quiet on the transfer front. We know, Ronaldo will be coming in January and that as well. It'd be really, really good. So it's, it's interesting. But yeah, obviously we're in Daily Mail, so it's got to be true.
It feels sexy though, doesn't it? Been linked with Brazilians rather than been linked with some bloke from Perth or something. Not, Perth, Scotland, not Australia. No offense to, Scotland and my wife, who's from those fair lands, if you like. But it just feels a bit more exciting. Pozza, are you back in the conversation now? Are you back in the room?
I am. You might see me twice. Just hang on a sec.
There's only one. I do see you twice. But there's 2.
I know. He's ruining my editing for later, isn't he? It's. Here he comes back now. Here he is, trouble causer. Hey, yeah, he's on the dance floor. Right, Poz, what are you making then? Brazilian, sexy or worrying, or what? What's your feeling on the links with Brazilian striker Lincoln?
It's something different, isn't it? Like you say, who knows? There were a thing on Twitter that were posted earlier. From some South American, I think it was South American journalist or someone out there anywhere. That he had some interesting comments flying in. We had to obviously translate them, so it's not as exact, is it? But I've seen some fellow were buying a submarine to drive him over.
That made me laugh. Yeah.
but that made me chuckle. So it seems to be quite a controversial character because some of the tweets were filled with quite a lot of hatred, to be honest. I think you might explain that it would be because he missed a chance against Liverpool in World Club Championships.
Yeah, if you look at some of them, they bang on about England and Liverpool, and then some of the comments go on about missing the chance against Liverpool. And when you watch the World Club highlights between Liverpool and Flamengo, he misses a chance. It's not a give. It's not an absolute gimme or anything. And when you watch the highlights, Liverpool battered them as well. So it really should have been 5-0, 5-1, but they seem to be a little bit angry about him for missing this, what you would call a half chance in extra time. But, it
seems a really weird, on face of it, if someone just came up to you randomly and said, we're going to sign someone from South America, you'd think, have you gone mad? But bearing in mind what you've just said about all the changes due to Brexit and the point system, if that's an area where we can bring players in from, fair play. It's renowned for producing decent footballers, and some, or quite a lot out there, would probably see it as a way into getting into somewhere probably higher up the pyramid. You make a name for yourself in England, even at championship level, and all of a sudden it seems to open up a lot more options. I think a lot of foreign players, once they come to England, tend to stay in England. You look at some of our team, like your Kachungas and stuff like that, have moved on within England. Whereas if he'd never come to town, would Sheffield Wednesday looked at him when he were back where he were before? And I think some players will see it as a stepping stone and a gateway into Europe, coming into Championship level clubs and stuff like that. But I think it would probably be a bit of a culture shock. I mean, Rio de Janeiro, is it?
Hey, mate, if Pippa says Huddersfield is better than Barcelona, then these Brazilians will love it here, I'm telling you.
Maybe you can bring some Amber Beach babes to do some beach football at half time instead of dizzy penalties. I don't know. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? But
maybe you could combine them both. Yeah, that'd be quite good.
The dizzy beach babes. Oh, there you go, Rambo. There's one for you. But yeah, it's nice to see that we're thinking outside the box and doing it early as well. If that's if we're looking to bring them in now before this rule sort of comes in, then fair play to the scouting network. I know they've come in for a hell of a lot of criticism, and rightly so. In not too distant past, but they seem to be booking their ideas up. You look at players we've brought in this season, and now looking at Grant and this Lincoln fella, they seem to be sort of changing tact a little bit, and fair play to them if they are. But yeah, exciting. It's not obviously not nailed on and stuff like that, but they are. There is quite a lot of rumours, and I can't see a random rumour like that starting if there isn't any substance to it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. So looking at the window now, I'm in a position where I look at what Carlos is doing. I think the squad's a tiny bit light. It lacks a striker. At the minute you would look and say maybe we might need a centre back on loan because Schindler and Stearman and Elphick and Critchlow. I don't know what the status is on him. He played last week, didn't he? But I don't know how fit he is. So we've got 3 out for a couple of months. So you might look for a 1-2 month loan if possible. Maybe a young defender. Someone who you can drop in and out. Who a Premier League team might be happy with you dropping in and out, because bearing in mind as well, Chelsea, who loan a lot of young players to Vitesse Arnhem, etc., now no longer can loan these players out. So all of a sudden there'll be a big cluster of English clubs going, excuse me, can I have so-and-so on loan? And I think we might see your Man Cities, your Chelseas now having to use English clubs or maybe Scottish clubs to farm their loanees out. And obviously Chelsea, when they loan players out, there's a premium that comes with that as well. So maybe there's a centre-back we can have. In terms of upheaval, I don't want to see too much. I want to see Carlos working on it with the nucleus, but I do want to see a new striker. I think we won light. Rolando Arins, I think he's training with us possibly. I read somewhere, or he's staying over here or something. I think might have been the Examiner, might have been in that one. Maybe not. But I don't really want to see more than that, to be honest. I don't really want to see an upheaval, especially when you're trying to embed, if you like, a new philosophy. I think sort of a big upheaval in mid-season might just throw that out a little bit. So just 1 or 2, 2 or 3 for me, bed them in, and then get the big earner. If we can get some of the big earners away, whose contracts are up at the end of the season, you're looking potentially. I'm not really going to name them, to be honest. Everyone knows who they are. There's no need to sort of go through them and label them. But get rid of these if they can in Jan. If not, off they go in the summer. And then in the summers, you real rebuild, your real test. And that's when your new markets, your new South American route, etc., really comes to the fore. And I think that's when maybe we might get excited, especially if Carlos is excited about one or two of the players as well. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, just it's just good. I think the pressure's off us a little bit with this decent run that we're having, and so I think anything at the moment is going to be viewed optimistically. Where I think if we'd have been struggling, that's not to say we might not slide back down. It'd have been typical Phil not getting his hand in his pocket, guy from Ireland, blah blah. So I think it's interesting, but. Back in the day, I think when Dean Oil, I don't know, stuff used to kind of come out a little bit more, didn't it? We seem to he always kind of let us have a few names, did Dean, didn't he, at times? But so I think it's been interesting how these have come about, really, because obviously Grant were talked about, I think about a week before, then obviously signed, and Lincoln will be interesting as well. But yeah, let's just wait and see what happens, Matt. But I think with Aaron's. Yeah, it's just more firepower, really. I think that's what's quite amazing, really. Elphick out, Stearman out. But yeah, we seem to be kind of doing well at the back, don't we, as well? And the strikers, we've not had it all our own way with injuries, so it's only going to help. And, maybe we might get, I'm still optimistic that we're going to get, Grant on that pitch, sometime in the spring, and let's see what it can do. But no, it's good. I'm really feeling it at the moment for Huddersfield Town. And I'm chuffed because that Bournemouth game had mitigating circumstances, but we've knocked over a good team. This week, Coventry, we should have won if Mbenza had pulled it back, etc. So, yeah, onwards to Oakwell. Sadly from his sofas again, eh?
Yeah, that definitely, as like Simon says, that definitely would have been a belting game to be at. Last year, I think there was 4,000 or 5,000 away fans, and the queues for the train station were a nightmare, and the game was atrocious. We were absolutely abysmal, and we've thrown in some absolute stinkers at Barnsley down the years. That was a wonderful goal, that. Yeah. But we've thrown in some stinkers. I remember the 4-2 back in the Steve Bruce season as well, where we went there and Ken Monkow scored, and Marcus Stewart scored an amazing little chip. That's a good time. So again, we'll go back to
FLE. I remember
we'll just
promotion.
Go back to. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm having a few Zoom issues as usual. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, that's what you get when you live in Leeds, mate. You get punished by above. Stop down with that as well.
What's it got?
It's like Max Headroom. Stuttering, man. Yeah. Can you still hear
I get.
I don't think.
I mean, are you guys there?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Chesty net. That's what I'm going to call it.
Christmas
so maybe it's as angry as
coming.
those old Leeds TV brunch on Sunday. That was some good viewing anyway. So HTFC Dreams has said, if there was bids for our players, who do you think would have bids and how much? Anyone want to field this one? Pozza's eating, so I'm tempted to just go for Pozza, but we'll go with Simon.
Yeah, I mean, there was some rumours around Burnley being linked to a Brighton at the start of the season that didn't materialise, possibly because of his injury at the time. I think the Burnley squad is a little bit light, so maybe they come back in for him. I'm not too sure. He hasn't been in great form. I don't think he's hit the heights of last season. We mentioned that before. I think Mbenza, as good as he has been, probably has still got kind of a lot to prove from where he has been, and can't really see anyone coming in for him. So yeah, I think it's unlikely in truth. I don't think any of our players will be particularly sought after. The only one I think I'd be maybe open to offloading. So there was a couple actually, but one would perhaps be Bakuna. I think he was linked with Rangers in the summer. I think I'm right in saying Matt is out of contract in the summer as well. So potentially if they came back in for him, maybe there's a deal to there. But I think to your point, I think kind of there might be a couple more incomings rather than outgoings, but perhaps not too much change this window.
Yeah, I probably agree.
Although, to be fair, guys, I don't think many clubs will be spending big in January given current situation. And I know it's August next year, isn't it, when next season starts, but where things are going at the minute, you don't even know what's going to be happening then. So I think it'll be one where, clubs stick with what they've got, and it's a good chance for managers to prove their worth in it, work with what you've got and see where you get to, kind of thing. And then if things are looking up, then summer, I think we'll be busy.
Dreams also mentions Reese Brown's future as well, but it's a strange one because with Reese Brown, I thought under Carlos he might be given an opportunity, but it seems that Reese Brown doesn't have any future at Huddersfield, which does seem a shame. But there we go. So we'll move on a little bit from there. Going back to the YouTube comments, I threw that out there about what the guys thought on Lincoln and those rumours, and Pete Collins mentions the Brazilians are going to be attracted by the bright lights of Dewsbury. Now there's a thought, isn't it? So right, okay. So whoever signed Pippa before January deserves some praise as well. That's strange. And then a couple are saying it's a strange one, but it looks like with it being harder to sign players in Europe, that will be interesting. So just a couple more things before we start to wrap up. I did a charity quiz with Mr. Chicken and Cameron Pope as well for the Fanster Foundation, HTFC Foundation. It's £3 to listen to it, and all money goes to the Town Foundation. Apologies that you have to pay to listen to me, but the way that people should look at it is it's for a charitable cause and not just to hear me waffle along. So there's a couple of things in there. We look at 2020 in a review, and there's a little quiz in there as well, and people can see if they would get the questions right. And there's a guest question master as well, which I was delighted to see. So go out there and get that, and I'll put a link in the bio in the YouTube channel as well, so how you can get that as well. Another thing as well, guys, Huddersfield Town women having an absolutely outstanding season. Jordan Wimpany there, the new manager this season, is doing a great job. 6 points clear and 8 wins in a row. Brady was tweeting madly about that the weekend as well, and they're definitely on my list to go down and see them as well. They're playing some great football. I'd watch the highlights, and we've got a really good side there, and hopefully we might be able to do another interview with them at some point, or one of the players, because I think Huddersfield fans have got two decent sides to watch at the minute, the men's and women. So it's all looking good from both at the minute, and hopefully the women can get promoted at the end of this season, and then new doors will open, and that'll be quite exciting. So they play down at the Stafflex Arena, as it's called, which is such a great. Have you guys seen it? It's such a great setting with the viaducts going in the background.
Sandwiches.
It's amazing.
Good
all the important stuff, Kosi.
Indeed. Talking about important stuff, Christmas Day. So I asked a tweet, I sent a tweet out this morning. If Huddersfield Town, if you could buy Huddersfield Town a Christmas present, what would it be? We had some great replies. From Farsley Terrier said, a lifetime supply of cream chinos for Carlos. Cam Fry, no more tears. I think we'd all agree on that. Jodie Calvert, similar theme. Their faithful fans back. Eddie Batley, Andy Booth reincarnated with lightning pace. Devon Terrier, our own stadium, not mismanaged by KSDL and not shared with Fartown ex-churches or whatever they're called these days.
Ooh.
Essex Terrier, tier 1 and fans back in the ground on 1st of Jan 2021.
Nice.
James, a time machine with room for all the fans so we could go back and see it all one more time, even if just to confirm it that it did really happen. Viv Watson, Michael Effer's dressing gown, Gaza's fishing rod and a cooked chicken should do it. Doug Barnett, a community facility that fans could use and bring them closer to the club. It would improve togetherness and atmosphere. Oh, wait, we used to have one of those and it went out with a promotion party leftovers. Andy, Biodes, a statue of Sue Beaumont, 27 years Town ticket office manager, now retired.
Legend.
Should be given a live season ticket as a thank you.
Yeah, she's class.
Andrew Brown, a bag of hamstrings.
Just for Danny Ward.
Yeah, just sweet. Nick Hood, Luke Beckett. But we're getting to the best. Graham Mears put, definitely by Diakabi a first touch, to when Neil replied, what about the second, third and the fourth? But I'm afraid the winner is Graham Rain. It's sensational. I'd buy a Mukhtar Diakabi from Valencia, make sure the receipt said Diakabi, and return Adama to them next week for a refund. A classic switcheroo solving two problems at once. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Oh, mad at that as well. I'll tell you what I'd buy, Huddersfield Town, some new records. God, we always play the same stuff, don't we, and that as well, but it's...
Jim V in Tacos, it always used to be advertised, I always remember.
Yeah.
Now 42, 43 or whatever.
Right, guys, I've just got three last tweets to get through, and we'll do that. So I would like to see, personally, for a Christmas present, I'd love to see the cream chinos become part of the uniform of the coaches. It would be amazing to see them all there. You know, Jorge, Chicho, and Danny Schofield all stood there in cream chinos and New Balance. That would be good. And maybe we could get a sponsorship with New Balance. Maybe that's something the club can look forward to. Levi's and New Balance going forward. So that would be pretty decent. Andy K says, I want to know the panel's preference if they're considering rocking a pair of cream white chinos and they return to the ground sometime in 2022. Mate, if I can find a decent pair of chinos, I think I might have to have a dabble. What about you guys?
I'm not a fan of the cream chinos. I'm a strictly denim man.
Is it for the spillages, Poz? Is that the problem?
Yeah, because you can't get red sauce out of chinos.
There's got to be something around everyone wearing them in the last game, hasn't there? The South Stand been full the last game of the season. All been well.
All in chinos, or waving chinos around the head like a scarf. That'd be amazing to see, I think. Poz, make it happen. Or maybe you could have a big flag with chinos on or something. Trust the Chinos by Harry Toffolo, something like that.
Imagine walking into Gascot with a pair of chinos on. I'd probably
with pleats.
God, I'd dread to think what would happen there. That's if it's still open. Please reopen. Anyway,
yeah,
any pub really.
Bentley at Chroma Samed says, while we're feeling a bit positive, what chants do you want to hear for some of the new players? He says, Mike Girona, Josh Koroma, which Ollie Fisher says that's a big no, by the way, Poz. Feliz, Naby, Sarr, here come the hot stepper for Benza. What are you guys thinking? I saw Danny Grant's chant. Do you reckon that's going to be one that's going to be rinsed? Voulez-vous, isn't it? Voulez-vous? Uh-huh.
I think that works quite well.
I love it.
I was thinking it's a chance because you can plan them. Some that you plan for players and you think they're great and they don't take off, and then some that you think are absolutely atrocious take off. It needs to sort of be a little bit organic, and sometimes someone can just dream something out and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's a great chant," and it goes, and so it's one of them. It's really hard to sort of think, "Oh, we'll definitely sing this for so and so." But there's quite a lot of new players, and by the time we're back, it could be even more.
Feliz, Naby, Sarr. Feliz, Naby, Sarr. I'm singing it, mate. It's happening. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Feliz, Naby, Sarr. Get me back in that ground. I'm going to peep my head through the fence. We're playing Blackburn. I'm just going to stay under that fence, just that bit where you can see South Stand, where that old wheelbarrows are and that. Just shout that. Get myself an iFollow. Come on. Up the piracy. Down the iFollow.
You and Rambo. And the final question is Andy Shooter, and he says, will Kosi ever get one of those big John Motson microphones?
Matt, I had to get a microphone for you because you weren't happy with my sound quality. So anything's possible, Andy. And if me and you can go to Gibraltar and look, and we never brought that virus in, by the way, but anything can happen in the world, man.
Yes, I'd prefer you with a sheepskin coat on, to be honest. I think that might be the winner for the podcast. But I think that's all we've got time for, isn't it? So thanks to everyone online. Thanks to the guys. Remember, thank you to Magic Rock for sponsoring us throughout 2020. We will be back next week with a final podcast of the year as well. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. And also remember to try check out the Fansa Foundation podcast as well. So Feliz, Naby, Sarr.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.